The safety in the Sportswriter Orchestra brings us in again.
Paul Schaefer, excellent job.
Yeah, he's not doing anything. He can come work for us. Well, it's Thursday, October 7th already, and we have an exciting football game tonight to go along with a lot of other things going on as we have the Rams and the Seahawks facing. I'll tell you, the NFL has done a spectacular job scheduling early season matchups right now. Couldn't ask for a better first 4 weeks or 5 weeks going in right now. So, fantastic for that. We have a lot of things to talk about, like Stephon Gilmore now being part of the Carolina Panthers. We have Justin Fields finally being named the starting quarterback of Chicago, which you've been calling about since mid-July. And before that, we're going to do a little basketball, as you talked about. We got Kyrie Irving endangering, it looks like, the Nets' chances to pursue an NBA title because he may not be allowed to play at home.
If it was anybody else, I think I might, side with the player on this one, but it's not anybody else. It's the same guy. This is the same guy that last year was missing for what? 4 or 5 days. The team didn't know where he was. His agent didn't know where he was, and he was just MIA in the middle of the season. Then they found him, and he showed up and said he was going to play, but then he's on, the COVID protocol list for like 3 more games. It's like, he's a good player when he's healthy, which is rare, and even when he's healthy, he's not available half the time. So, it's just ridiculous that this is a team that, was very close to a championship last year and essentially may have been the champ had they been healthy. And instead of everybody getting together and making a strong push to win the world championship this year, we're fighting over whether or not we're going to get inoculated. It's like, come on, man. This is why when this team was formed, we all said, no way. They're not going to win a title because of not that they didn't have 3 really good parts, but it's who those pieces were, and the person behind the player. And this is not a good start to the season for them.
Well, I can't say we didn't expect this from Kyrie, but I'll tell you, with the way James Harden played last year, I say, Kyrie, we don't need you. You know what I mean? We got Kevin. We got James Harden. We'll have plenty of offense. We'll have plenty. And James Harden really showed me a lot last year in the way he sacrificed some of his game. He was more the maestro, moving the ball around and things like that. So if Kyrie doesn't show up, if James Harden and Kevin Durant are there, on the Nets, I'm not that concerned. But the fact of the matter is, it is just another chapter in what is going to be the narrative of Kyrie Irving's career. I mean, look, vaccination. There are millions or thousands of people who don't want to get vaccinated. It's their choice. It's a freedom, whatever they want to do. But sports is not an entitlement. Playing sports in the NBA is not your right. It's something that very few are granted, and you should appreciate the small time you get to play and make big money and be a hero to millions and millions of people. But he doesn't seem to care about that.
Yeah, think about where you're at. You are playing in New York City. You play for the Brooklyn Nets. So this isn't like somebody going out to get you, Kyrie. This is the mandate that the city of New York has put on, not just you, but any gym. To go to a gym in New York, this is what me and you were talking about off air. My parents are in New York, and for them to get into a restaurant, they had to show their vaccination cards. So, it's like, if you don't want to be a pro basketball player, you don't want to make money playing basketball, then don't do it. But if you do, Like if they wanted to go to that restaurant today, which they wanted to do, they pulled their cards out. And if you don't want to play basketball, then don't get inoculated, don't get your shot, and don't collect $30 million and go home. That's pretty easy.
Yeah, I went to City Field this summer, and I had to show my card.
Did you?
Yeah, no big deal. Here's my card.
Yeah,
it is what it is. I mean, that's just the way of the world right now. And everybody wishes we'd go back 3 years and do a lot of things we didn't have to worry about. Unfortunately, this flu came around, broadsided the world. It wasn't just our country; it broadsided the world. It was something, a once in a century thing that happened. And I remember when it first happened. I got the flu, and I wasn't going to get it. And then I actually got it. Luckily, I didn't get any of the bad sides of it. All I had was basically a headache for a week. But then I said, well, yeah, I better basically get it done. Plus, if I want to be around people, I have nieces and nephews that I want to see and things like that. And if I want to be around people, I got to do it. Everybody's getting their shots, so I got to get mine. So,
yeah, no, that's same. I didn't really want to do it either. I understand where Kyrie is coming from, but let me tell you what I didn't want to do is sit at home at my house for 8 more months and not go anywhere. I mean, trust me, we did that. We played every board game we could find. I read every book that I had already read in my life that was on the bookshelf. I watched every Netflix series.
Oh yeah,
that had been created. Guess what? I wanted to go outside my house, so got the shot. And we still don't do all the things that we used to do. We still don't go out every night and hit the dance floor at Cotton Eye Joe or anything like that. But, we go out to eat occasionally. We go where we have to go because, we got it done. And it's just not that hard. And hack you, put a tracker in you, get the shot, collect your millions of dollars, and help your team win a championship. I mean, I don't know. This roster, I don't know if they're good enough to win a championship with him. And I'm not sure I see this as a championship roster without him. I'm pretty sure about that. I mean, they got LaMarcus Aldridge, Kevin Durant, Joe Harris, James Harden, Patty Mills now, Bruce Brown, Blake Griffin, Paul Millsap. It's a good roster, but I'm not ready to crown these guys the world champions just yet.
No, and Milwaukee's coming back. Yep. Philadelphia's getting, and the Knicks are getting better. So it's and who knows what's going to happen with the Celtics up there, whether the new coach is going to have a positive impact on them. So right there's 4 teams you got to worry about. Indiana's always a team that you never know with them. Miami Heat, the Atlanta Hawks, what they showed last year. So it's going to be, the Eastern Conference is not going to be a cakewalk for the Nets. And I'm kind of shocked that Kevin Durant and James Harden aren't. I know it's hard for them to do, especially in, being superstar players, putting pressure on other superstar players. But it's kind of like, if they got their shots, I'd be like, man, why aren't you getting yours? Dude, we're trying to do something here. What does it mean? Go see your doctor. You have access to the greatest medicine in the world because of who you are. You could go to anybody. Go find a doctor you trust. Find whatever you have to do to make you feel comfortable getting the shot. Do it.
Yeah, not only that too, but do you see a scenario where they have him as a part-time player? I mean, I heard these people discussing that, and that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I mean, you take away the home games, then you add in the injuries that he gets, and you add in the times he goes missing. He's going to play in like 5 games.
Well, and the other thing is where is he if he's not vaccinated, and he's not with the team in New York City, where is he? Who's he in contact with? Is he going to come and infect the whole team when they meet in another city? Yeah. What's going to happen? Because not that they can control these guys, but at least pretty much if he's practicing at with the guys in Brooklyn every day, pretty much where he is.
Yeah, no, and I don't know what the protocols are for the team when they travel on the road and when they're, playing road games. If he's allowed to join them, well, does he, what happens when the team comes back because they were around someone who they knew for a fact wasn't vaccinated? Are those guys penalized then? I just think it's kind of a crazy situation, and I haven't really heard of anybody else causing a problem with this, but it's Kyrie, so
Well, yeah, I think sometimes he just does it just to be. He'll probably get the shot within the next couple of weeks, or maybe he'll get the shot and he'll miss maybe 10 to 14 days. At the beginning of the season, he'll probably get it because remember one thing about whatever you talk about, whether you talk politics, whether you talk crime, whether you talk sports, we have a limited attention span. Right now, it's a big story. When the games start next week, it's going to be no story because there'll be other stories coming up daily to talk about, and he'll be on the back burner. So, and that's the one thing about Kyrie you can depend on. He wants to be the center of attention, so he'll get his shots. I guarantee you, before Thanksgiving, he'll have his shots.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine a scenario where he's not being talked about. So, and if he doesn't get the shots and he ends up not being able to play, how's he going to get his name in the headlines at all? He won't. So, I'm with you. I think he'll miraculously change his mind here when the season gets rolling.
For the good of the team, because he's a team guy.
Yeah, good of his brand. Then he'll do it. But I'm interested for the NBA to get started. I got to admit, I'm pretty fired up about this Laker ball club. Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Carmelo, Dwight Howard, Horton Tucker, Malik Monk, DeAndre Jordan. I mean, Rajon Rondo. I like this roster, man. I don't know if they're too old to get it done, but I can see a scenario where Vogel manages the minutes and can win with this team. I mean, he won with less talent than this, so I think they got a shot.
Well, I think we're gonna have to see, the first half of the season shake out who are the Clippers going to be, who's Denver going to be, who's there were some good storylines on the West Coast last year too. So I mean, like always, it's going to be a no cakewalk for them either out there, the Lakers. But LeBron has a way of, and love him or hate him, you can say what you want about the guy, but he knows how to be a leader on a team. And he knows how to bring team guys together. So it's hard to doubt that he will figure out how to get these guys working on the same page, and they're going to be a factor. And like you said, health will be one thing, but I think in the end the Lakers will be there. It's just going to be interesting to see if Milwaukee really learned enough to become a quasi dynasty, to become that. It's hard to win back-to-back or three in a row, but can they at least become the team that can make it like the Golden State Warriors, make it to the finals, make them earn it. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty impressed with what Miami's done over the offseason, how they've been able to keep that roster together. I think they've definitely got a chance to repeat just because they have almost everybody back. I mean, they've got Chris Middleton, they've got Giannis, Brooke Lopez was re-signed, Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, George Hill. They added some pieces too, as Dante DiVincenzo's back from injury. They got Rodney Hood. They've got Grayson Allen, he can trip some people on their way to the hoop, and Drew Holiday. So Tremont Waters as well. I think this team is actually maybe just a little bit better. So we'll see what happens, but it's definitely hard to repeat the NBA. There's no easy way to do it.
Well, Dante is going to be a very interesting because, I mean, he missed the whole playoffs, and it was amazing how you and I made fun of him at first, but how Pat Connaughton, as he played on, became more of a factor and a positive factor. And they're kind of the same player. They played about the same positions. It'll be really weird to see if Connaughton has earned a fair share rather than what he was before. And, if Dante can accept that fact, you know what I mean? If they can become, because there's only one ball that goes around. There's only so many hoops for everybody, and the superstars are going to get most of them. So, we'll see what happens. Sometimes that works against you, but they all got rings. They learned how to win, and we'll see if they have that memory, that muscle memory that true champions learn.
Yeah, no, they definitely came together and had one single purpose, and I think it starts at the top with the leadership. I've been critical at times of their coach, and I think at times he's deserved some criticism, but in the end, they got it done. He got his team to believe in one vision, and they all came together and made it happen. And I think Connaughton's become a really good player to come off the bench. And I know me and you had some fun with him, but honestly, at the end there, he was playing pretty darn good and was a big factor in those Eastern Conference Finals as well as the NBA Finals.
I like to think we created him.
We did. We made him. He was just kind of a bench guy, and all of a sudden we turned him into this juggernaut. Just because of us.
Yeah, that's right. So let's get back to a little football tonight. Okay. First of all, Stephon Gilmore. This was kind of you saw it coming. The rumors were going around. They wanted him to rework his contract or whatever, and the New England thing is, especially now that they let Brady go. Anybody who doesn't want to take the money they want to give, they're willing to take the chance. I don't know if it's a good move for the Patriots, but the one thing I always worry about is the people like Belichick's always had the benefit of the last 20 years of getting rid of players at the right time. So you wonder if Stephon Gilmore's lost something.
It's possible. I think that last year, in my opinion, I don't think he played as well as he did the year, before when he was the player of the year. And it didn't look to me like he was the same guy. And I think part of that was due to injury. And I think part of that was just due to, people knowing what not to do against him. And I still think he's a good player, but I do think that New England secondary looked pretty solid. In case you guys missed the Buccaneers game, they didn't seem to be missing him a whole lot. And, he's basically refused to play all of training camp and pretty much the whole season. He wasn't really hurt when they put him on IR. They put him on IR because he was essentially in a contract dispute. So him getting released didn't surprise me at all, to be honest with you. I know he's a good player, and I know he's already been picked up. The Panthers signed him pretty much immediately, so that didn't shock me. The one that really shocked me was Jalen Smith getting released by the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And I get it. I know they really like Micah Parsons, but Parsons has been playing defensive end for the last 3 or 4 weeks ever since Lawrence went down. And I understand they've got Van Der Esch, and they have Jabril Cox, who they drafted and they have another rookie that they like. But are people forgetting that, their linebackers went down like dominoes a couple of years ago, like 2 years in a row, actually? Everybody was hurt. Sean Lee was hurt. Van Der Esch had neck surgery. I mean, they barely had enough linebackers to go out on the field. So that kind of shocked me. They're 2 or 3 injuries away from really needing Jalen Smith. And, I think some of the criticism on him has been unfair, to be honest. So we'll see what happens. He didn't last real long on the market either, as the Green Bay Packers have already signed him, and, he's already on a new team. So we'll see what happens. But I think the Packers just got I think they just hit pay dirt as they got first round
draft choice in October.
In October for nothing. They signed him to a 1-year deal for basically nothing because he's already, the Cowboys are on the hook for his $7.25 million salary. They have to pay that no matter what. The only thing they were trying to do was save a cap hit for next year, where by releasing him now, they're going to save around over $9.25 million. And I understand that, but they didn't have to do it by yesterday. So it was kind of strange to me, the timing of it.
Yeah, it's one of those ones you scratch your head, and you don't know. We'll never know the insides out of it. But Cowboy hubris sometimes comes around. We were playing so well, and they make these moves, and like you said, all of a sudden you lose two linebackers. And it's like, oh, what did you do?
Yeah, where's Jalen at? Oh yeah, he doesn't play for us anymore. But just to hit on our listeners' message there, did you see that today? That they arrested 18 former NBA players for defrauding their pension healthcare plan. Essentially, there was a ringleader who was sending in fictional claims for these old players and retired players and their family members, and they defrauded the NBA plan of over $4 million. And there were some big names on this list: Sebastian Telfair,
wow,
Darius Miles, Glenn Big Baby Davis, Allen Anderson. There was some big names on this list, and it's worth noting. And I recommend everyone to go read the story if you have not read it yet. And I appreciate Justin bringing that up, because I was wanting to talk about that. I just forgot, because it's a pretty crazy story if you haven't read it yet.
Yeah, those are the people you wouldn't think would be involved. But, it goes throughout sport. I mean, these guys live up to their lifestyles when they're playing. They run out of money fast, and you can't make the same money at 40 that you're making at 22. And you can't re-up that. I mean, it's one thing when a normal person loses a job making $75,000 a year, you can get another job making $75,000 a year. Unfortunately, you lose a job where you're making $7.2 million. You don't have that many jobs out there.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. And these guys have the same bills coming in, but no money coming in. And it becomes a real eye-opening experience for a lot of them when they've got millions of dollars, getting deposited in their account. And then all of a sudden, that money's gone, and they still have these bills to pay. So they have to get creative sometimes. I'm not sure this is the best way, but apparently one example was one of these ex-NBA players was playing basketball in Taiwan, but turned in a claim of getting $50,000 in root canals at a Beverly Hills dentist office. So, that was one of the ones that I thought was very interesting.
Oh, it's just crazy. It is, it happens. It happens all around. So why should we be shocked when we aren't? Back to football with Justin Fields. I think it was something that should have been done at the beginning of the season. We talked about it so many times. It kind of gets old. But do you think the GM or the higher ups of Chicago stepped in and said, you got to do it?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. And if you recall back to last season, I couldn't understand what they were doing last year when they couldn't pick a quarterback. They would play Nick Foles one week, and then the next week they would go back to Mitchell Trubisky, and then they would go back to Foles, and then they couldn't figure it out, and they were, they wouldn't call plays that were favoring the quarterback that was playing. Like, Foles is more of a drop back passer. Mitch Trubisky is a pretty good runner, and you would think they would kind of tailor the offense based on who was behind center. And they never did that, and they're doing the same thing now. If you look at the Browns game, Justin Fields was running for his life. I mean, literally sacked 9.5 times. And if it was anybody else, maybe spare Lamar Jackson and maybe Michael Vick, he probably would have been sacked 16 or 17 times, because he's a very, very good athlete. He was able to avoid it, but it's just, I don't understand what's going on. The narrative coming from the coach, it seems to change every week. One week he was sticking with Dalton, and the next week he was, we're starting Fields because Dalton's hurt. And then the next week it was the competition's open to everybody and Nick Foles is back involved in it. It's like, you never know what this guy's going to want to, what he's going to say. And the one thing you want from your head coach is consistent messaging. And
Right.
This guy is the furthest thing from that. And how he's lasted this long in Chicago, I will never know.
And, you can get away with it sometimes at the college level. But in the pros, you got to make a choice of who's your best quarterback and who gives you the best chance of winning. We know what Dalton brings to the table. We know what Nick Foles brings to the table. The only thing we don't know is what Justin Fields brings to the table. And so far, if you look at the way he was in college, he's always been a leader. He's definitely got the arm. He's got the head. He's got the legs to do it. I don't know why he would want to fight it. I mean, it just makes no sense to me. We said it on Monday. The best coach maybe that's ever lived cut Cam Newton and put a rookie in because he said, this is my future. Why wait?
Yeah, and this guy, Cam Newton, was a former league MVP, national championship winning, Heisman Trophy winning. I mean, this was a guy with credentials.
Yeah.
And Bill Belichick, cut the cord before the season even began. And this guy's still out there trying to, make a political statement for Andy Dalton. I mean, give me a break. Andy Dalton sucks. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean.
No.
You saw what he was last year when he got inserted into the lineup for the Cowboys. He didn't save them boys. I mean, he looked horrible out there. They had the greatest, one of the greatest wide receiver cores in the NFL on the Cowboys. And man, you forgot all about it when they were playing because Andy Dalton couldn't get the ball to any of them. And the guy, never was great. He was a good quarterback for the Bengals for a couple of years there. And, especially at the beginning of his career, but that guy is no longer around and he wasn't great to begin with. So put him as your backup and have him there helping Justin to get up to speed because this guy's your future. And this guy probably gives you the best chance to win right now. If you'll call plays that match his skill set.
For sure. All right, let's start with tonight's game. We got the Rams against Seattle. Rams were riding high till last week, and Seattle right now, both you and I like Seattle coming into this season. Big game for both teams right now because that is a tough division, and you don't want to have, it's Seattle's case, you don't want to have 3 losses already. And the Rams, you don't want to see Arizona be putting some space in between you.
Yeah, this is a huge, huge game, and luckily for the Seahawks, it's going to be in Seattle. And I think with the fans being back and involved, I think that'll make a difference. But there's been some inconsistency with Seattle. I mean, the offense looks great and scores tons of points, and Russ is running it, and then they have guys beating people deep, and then they won't be able to score for 2 quarters. And that to me has been puzzling, at best. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be an uphill battle for the Seahawks tonight because Chris Carson, their starting running back, and by far their best threat out of the backfield, has been ruled out with a neck injury.
And I think it's a big game for Matt Stafford. He outdueled the GOAT a couple weeks ago, looked really good. But these are the games he's brought here to win. It wasn't just to win 1 week. It's to give him, Jared Goff would look good on 1 week, and then next 2 or 3 weeks you were trying to say, "Oh God, Jared, just don't do anything wrong." So the thing is, this is the kind of game we've been waiting for Matt Stafford to have throughout his career. This is the kind of season he wants. He wants to play at the top level against top top teams. So it's a big game for Matt Stafford to show up.
Yeah, and let's see. The line is 2.5 basically because it's a pick'em game. The Seahawks are at home. Who are you taking?
I liked Seattle so much coming into this season, and I gotta say Rams. Rams. Yeah, I'm going with the Rams.
Going with the Rams. All right. I don't know, man. I was pretty happy with the way the Seahawks played last week, but can they keep it going for 2 weeks in a row? I don't think so. I just don't think the defense is good enough to slow down the Rams for 4 quarters. So I'm taking the Rams too.
All right. And then we switch over to Sunday, where we're going to have our first overseas game, Jets in Atlanta.
Those poor Brits.
Yeah, I know. But they won't know the difference. Why I feel sorry for Brits. I mean, first of all, they love soccer, and I get that. But they also love a game like cricket, where you can play for 7 days and come away with a draw. So, I mean, the hell with them. Why send them a good match?
Yeah, no. I'm not going to be watching it. I don't think the game starts at 9:30. So, I'll probably be watching cartoons and making strawberry cocoa. So, I won't be watching it either. So, yeah, I don't think it's they usually get the Jaguars, so they should be happy.
Yeah. Well, it could be a nice game if the Jets can carry over from last week. Matt Ryan wants revenge for what he lost last week after he had a fine game, but Washington outdoes them. It's really a game that should be a tie. If you look at it, that's what it deserves to be. So,
yeah, well, very interesting hearing that Calvin Ridley is not going to be traveling with the Falcons. I thought that was very interesting. If I was on the team, I'd want to know what it is that's going on that's going to lead my best wide receiver to not be going. I thought it was I heard it was something to do with a personal matter, and I'm like, okay, personal matter when we're trying to win games. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he's trying to get out of town. He's seen the writing on the wall of what Atlanta's going to look like for the next 4 or 5 years. Next 1:00 game this should be an interesting game. We talked about Green Bay getting a nice addition to their defense. Cincinnati, everybody's Cinderella team early in the year, both 3-1, coming up at 1:00 on Sunday. The old MVP and almost GOAT against the new MVP and almost GOAT. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, this should be a pretty good game if the last few weeks have told us anything about this season. The Packers have looked pretty good, and the Bengals have looked pretty good. I'm taking the Packers in this one because I really don't think there's anybody on that Bengals defense that can stop Aaron Jones. I mean, that guy, paying him seems to be one of the greatest moves the Packers have made in a long time because he has been lights out this entire season. And it seems to be like whenever they get the ball in his hands, good things happen. And then you've also got probably the best wide receiver in the league in Devontae Adams, who's got 31 catches, 373 yards, and several touchdowns. So pretty good wideout and a really good running back and the MVP at quarterback. I'm taking the Packers.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati's going to come back down to earth here. I mean, they'd be hard pressed. I mean, Burrow would have to play way out of his head, and we saw last week in the first half that he's still a young quarterback. He came in the second half and looked really, really good, and that was against Jacksonville. So I mean, this is Green Bay, so we'll see what happens there. Next, probably the game that probably should have been sent to London. Detroit 0-4 against Minnesota 1-3. Minnesota needs to win. I mean, Detroit, everybody expected to be bad. I know they lost a lot of close ones, but 1-4 for Minnesota, especially if they lose to Detroit 0-4. I think that puts the writing on the wall for Zimmer.
I agree with you. There may be a change made if they start 1-4, especially after this. They're favored by 10 points. And, it's not like their record is way better than the Lions. The thing is that they've been in every ball game. I mean, we went and talked about it last week. They lost by 3 in week 1. They lost by 1 point the next week. And then they, beat the Seahawks 30-17. Then they lost by 7 points to the Browns. So these games that they're playing, they're very close ball games. And when games are that close and, you don't come out on the successful end of it, the coach starts taking a lot of the blame because it's like, look, we've got the players, we're right here. It's just for whatever reason, we're not getting the victories. And that's when, changes start to be made.
Definitely. And then we got Denver and Pittsburgh. Big game for Pittsburgh. Denver coming off of that and street fight between the coaches last week, and we'll see. I mean, everybody knew that Denver was going to come back to it. I picked them to be number 2 in the division, but no one thought they were going to end up being 5-1, 6-1, 7-1, 8-1. And Bridgewater's banged up, right?
So he practiced today. He practiced today. So I don't know if he's been officially cleared for contact, but I do know that he was at practice today and was a participant. So I think they're going to try and trot him out there. But, we've seen this before. How long does he last? I don't know. But this is we just talked about the Vikings must win. This is a must win for the Steelers. Their fans are already going crazy trying to figure out what to do. And that Tomlin's not happy either because this is a guy who's never had a losing season in his entire coaching career, and he's 1-3. So he can't be happy. And this is a must win. You're at home against a Broncos team that not much was expected of.
And Pittsburgh, who are some of the best fans in the world. I mean, they're even turning on Big Ben. They're
turning on everybody, and there's a lot of fans that are calling for Ben's head. But what do you want to do? You want to run Mason Rudolph out there? I mean, that guy, didn't look good against the 2s and 3s in preseason. So what do you think he's going to look like against the 1s? I mean, I hate to break it to you, but Big Ben probably gives you your best chance. And until you know that you're out of the playoffs and you know for sure that you're done, I think you got to stick with Big Ben, don't you?
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of Eli Manning when he was being backed up by Webb and what's his name, the quarterback who's the backup in Seattle now.
Geno Smith.
Yeah, Geno Smith. I mean, yeah, okay, you don't like what Eli's doing, but the guys that you can trot out there aren't going to help you win either, and they're not your quarterbacks of the future. So that's why there was such flack when it turned out so bad, and Eli was put right back in there because, okay, these guys aren't going to be our quarterback of the future. So I mean, why are you even trotting them out there? It makes no sense. So
yeah, I mean, I guess if they're 5-9. 4-9, 5-9, and the season's essentially lost. Maybe then you run Haskins out there and see what he's got. But I think we've seen enough of Mason Rudolph to know that he's not the future. And Haskins probably isn't either. But you got him on the cheap, and you might as well figure out what you got with him.
Yeah, I mean, he could be your bridge quarterback. He might be your next quarterback. Like you said with Mason Rudolph, he's been in your camp for 5 years now.
Yeah. And
you've seen everything. What he is.
He got to play all last year. So, we got to see him, and he sucks. So let's see maybe if Haskins has got anything. If the season's lost, maybe you put him out there and see if he can, if he's learned his lesson. But if not, you draft a quarterback.
And here's a game that couldn't come along worse for the Dolphins. You got Tampa Bay, who's already gotten their wake-up call. You don't have your quarterback, and you got Tampa Bay 3-1 against Miami. I can't see any way that Miami can win this game.
Things are not looking good in Miami right now. We already talked about it last week. They're being critical of their coach that last year, was the coach of the year, and now they're pissed off at him, and I don't really understand that. But the question is, I've got to be honest. My one concern with Tua coming out was his durability, and that was a serious injury, and it seems like he's been banged up a lot, and he's not really a running quarterback. So it concerns me how often he's been hurt, and they need him to play, and they need to figure out what they've got with him, and they need him right now in order to win. And the Will Fuller experiment. Oh my gosh, do I love Will Fuller? When he plays, he's great. He's already been ruled out and put on IR. He played one game and broke his finger or something. It's like this guy. I mean, he plays about as much as Kyrie does.
Yeah, and I mean, I like Brian Flores. I mean, I don't think this is what I hate about all of sports today is you have one good year, then you have a bad year. Oh, you're gone. No, I mean, things happen. He loses his quarterback. They made a decision not to bring back Ryan Fitzpatrick. Was he in on that decision? I don't know. I would think he would want to keep his veteran quarterback around. But apparently everybody else didn't want to keep his veteran quarterback around. Maybe they wanted to force his hand to play Tua. That's there's somebody, I tell you, the worst movie that ever happened in the history of modern sports is Moneyball. Because every GM thinks now that he's a quasi coach and he's got to be Brad Pitt. And they all think they look like Brad Pitt too, which is wrong. So anyways, it's just they don't. It used to be the GMs got the players. They would work in concert with the coach around draft and free agency. What kind of players you're looking for? They would try and get them the kind of players they needed to run their offense, run their defense, and then they back off. Now these GMs, I just think, have too much of their hands in the pie.
Well, everybody got mad at me when I said that it was the wrong time to pull Ryan Fitzpatrick.
No, you're right.
And then they went on and ended up having to insert him into 2 or 3 of the games down the stretch to win them because they didn't feel comfortable with the way that Tua was playing. And now here we are, not even a year later, and we've got Jacoby Brissett out there trying to keep this season from being sunk. And you get what you pay for sometimes.
All right, and then we go to a very important game for two teams that do have playoff aspirations and are still right in the middle of it. New Orleans coming off a tough loss to the Giants, and Washington coming off kind of a miraculous win over the Falcons, making it harder than maybe should have been on them. But so far, this Washington defense has not played up to expectations.
Yeah, and maybe expectations were a little bit too high, to begin with. I mean, we all know that defense doesn't really do much in the NFL anymore anyway. I mean, you're not even allowed to tackle anybody or hit anybody coming across the middle. I mean, you basically make a tackle in the NFL now and you get flagged for it. So defense, isn't as important as it used to be, but the Tampa Bay sure is still playing good defense. So maybe you're right. Maybe this defense was inflated, and maybe we thought they were better than they were. I'm still pretty impressed with their front seven, at least their defensive line for sure. It's just how good is this secondary? How good are these linebackers? I think that people are finding the weaknesses.
What about the Saints?
Man, I do not know anymore. I was pretty confident. Jameis hasn't really played bad. It's just the team themselves has been rather inconsistent and looked good at times and has looked bad at other times. This is, we just went through the list, and this is pretty much a must-win type of scenario for the Vikings. This is a pretty must-win type of scenario for the Steelers, and this is a must-win type of scenario for both these teams. So you hate to say in Week 5 that these teams have to have a victory, but I could see the season going the wrong direction for all 4 of those teams we just mentioned if they lose.
Yeah, it was a weird weekend for the Saints last week, and I was glad for it, but my God. In the other 1:00 game, Philadelphia, 1-3, goes to Carolina, and both those records are deceiving.
Yeah,
they just are. On the surface, neither team is what that record shows.
I agree. I mean, the Eagles have played pretty well. at times this year. And that first week where they blew the Falcons out, everybody was ready to give the NFC East trophy to the Eagles. And then since then, it hasn't gone as well. But, the Dallas game, they were overmatched. Every other game, they've looked pretty decent. And I've been very impressed with Jalen Hurts. I know everybody wants to criticize him and blame every loss on him, but he hasn't been the problem there. Their defense has not been able to stop anyone or get anybody off the field. Their red zone defense has been horrible. But they do get Sam Darnold this week. So, maybe they can turn things around because Sam has started some of the shine has started to come off of old Sammy Darnold. And I think it's going to continue to do so.
Yeah, whatever shine he had, especially when he doesn't have McCaffrey. So,
yeah.
Now the next two Monday 1 o'clock games actually kind of play with each other. You got Tennessee coming off a bad loss to the Jets, playing Jacksonville. I don't think Vrabel will let them go to sleep twice. Plus, Jacksonville is a mess with the Urban Meyer thing that's going on this week. How can this team get prepared when their coach is out getting his ground to a fine whatever? and then you got that taken up. They're still talking about it on Thursday. I mean,
I know. And why people are talking about this, I do not know. I mean, who cares? This guy was in his bar that he owns, and some chick was grinding on him. Who cares? I mean, I'm sure his wife probably does.
I was jealous.
But why the rest of us? Yeah, no, I mean, that's what everyone else is too. That's why they're all mad. I sat there and listened to Marcus Spears and Dan Orlovsky tell me why he should be fired for this. And I'm sitting there thinking, in the same league where a quarterback has 22 sexual assault charges against him pending, and he's not even suspended. But this guy should be fired because some girl bumped her butt against him. I mean, it's an absolute joke. And why this is such a big story, I do know why, because people hate Urban Meyer. A lot of people do. And,
because he's always had success.
Yeah, and they're jealous of him, and they want him to fail. And let me tell you, he hasn't failed yet. They played 4 games, and on Thursday night in the first half, they looked like they were starting to put it together. So we'll see if he can. He needs to work his magic, because I'm telling you, there's people coming after him, and he needs to start winning there. Needs to start winning now.
I got just one kind of statement about Dan Orlovsky. It's great that he knows what lines not to step over, but he didn't know about that when he was in the end zone and stepped out.
Yeah, no, this guy, he was such a great player that he, ran out of the back of the end zone for a safety when he was trying to throw a pass. And this guy's judging other people's actions. Give me a break, Dan. You were a backup on the worst Lions team in the history of football. So, yeah, let's hear his opinion. I mean, utter joke. And, why you would even talk about this guy getting fired, I have no idea. They're like, he's got a morals clause in his contract. So it says if some girl grinds him at a bar, you can fire him. I don't think that's how it's worded.
It's the world we live in. And then we got now New England, Houston. This is one of those games where you got to count on Coach Belichick having his rookie quarterback ready. Houston's got a rookie quarterback. Unless they do something with Watson this week, this should be an easy cover for New England, I would think.
Yeah, I feel like New England, they figured things out last week, especially offensively. This was a team that was supposed to be a running team, and that would they run for like 2 yards against the Buccaneers. So this kid looked ready. I'm not a big Alabama fan, and I definitely am not a big Mac Jones fan, but I respect the way that he played last week. He was phenomenal. He was the best quarterback on the field. And I expect him to shred the Texans on Sunday.
I think I totally agree with you, and I think this is going to be the month we see if the Mac Jones decision starts to pay off for them. First of all, playing against them, the Brady game is over with now. We don't have to listen about the Brady game, the impending Brady game anymore.
Thank God.
And I don't care what Belichick says. there's a distraction because every time, he turned around, opened the newspaper, oh, Brady's coming to town. 2 weeks, Brady's coming down. 3 weeks, Brady's coming down. Oh, Brady's coming to town in 2 days. It is what it is. It's over with. Now he can just, not that he didn't concentrate on football. He doesn't have to worry about that anymore. And like I said, 4 weeks into the Mac Jones career, let's see if it starts paying off. If they can come out of this with a 3-1 record or 2-2 and be 3-5 at the end of the month, not bad situation for them.
Yeah, no, they've played some tough opponents. That week 1 loss to the Dolphins isn't looking as good as it was just because the Dolphins have kind of gone the other direction. But they beat the Jets handily. They lost to the Saints, and then they were right there with the Buccaneers. So now, they're going to get a victory here, in my opinion, against the Texans, and then they're going to play the Cowboys, which should be a really good measuring stick for Mac Jones and the team. And then they get to play the Jets again. So they should win at least 2 out of the next 3.
Yeah. Then we got Chicago. We talked about Justin Fields. Not a great position to be playing against Las Vegas. Even though I'll tell you, Las Vegas tough. It was a tough loss. They had a chance. They battled their way back. A bad interception by Carr, and they're 3-1. Success over the first month. Chicago's 2-2. I think this is where the Raiders get back on track a little bit.
Yeah, I mean the Raiders didn't look that bad last week. I mean, they were down 21-0, yes, but then they came out of the locker room and scored 14 straight and were driving. So, if he doesn't throw that interception, who knows? Maybe they tie it up and maybe we have a different outcome. So I'm still pretty high on the Raiders, and I expect them to beat the Bears just because of who coaches the Bears. I have no faith in Matt Nagy. I have no faith in the offensive coordinator, Laser, or the GM. I mean, I don't have any faith in that organization anymore, and I never really did. But who's going to be calling plays? Who cares? It doesn't seem to matter who it is. They have no idea what they're doing, and they can't seem to put a game plan together based on who they have on the field.
And next to 4 o'clock games, we'll start out with my Giants going to Dallas. Never an easy place for them. Even though they owned Jerry World when it first opened, it's been a house of horrors for the last 4 or 5 years down there for them. Daniel Jones, Player of the Week, and Daniel Jones has shown a lot this year. He has grown leaps and bounds, but still, you wonder about that offensive line. I liked how they used Saquon Barkley last week. My biggest thing with them is, can we stop using Evan Ingram, please? Just stop, because he'll make the fumble. He'll drop the pass. The ball will go off his hands for an interception. I know. Every coach dreams about getting that type of an athletic talent and turning him into a poor man's Gronkowski, but he's not, and he's not going to be. So that worries me a little bit. Their defense seems to have turned a corner, but they're playing against right now a Cowboys team that right now just doesn't seem to have any weaknesses on offense.
No, they've looked amazing the last 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, they struggled a little bit against the Chargers, but that was after a big-time game week 1 and having to travel cross country. So other than that, this offense has looked pretty unstoppable. And Ezekiel Elliott the last 2 weeks has been pretty much unstoppable. So I'm taking the boys in this one, and I expect them to cover that 7-point spread.
I'll tell you, there's 2 things to think about in this game. First of all, the Giants have to keep it close. They have to keep it close. Number 2, clock management. What's always burned them, whether it be Romo, whether it be Dak, they leave too much time on the clock. When they get those leads early, whether it was Eli's late in his career, so far with Daniel Jones, when they do get a lead on the Cowboys in the fourth quarter, like the game where Dak got hurt last year, Andy Dalton brought him right downfield to score. So the Giants have to manage the clock and stay close and hopefully get a puncher's chance in the end.
Yeah, I don't see it. I'm taking the boys in this one. I don't think I don't think the run defense or the pass defense is good enough to slow the Cowboys down. But, that's why they play the game.
Yeah, all I can do is hope. The next 4:00 game is going to be. I'll tell you, this couldn't come along worst for the Browns right now. They still have not played their best football, and they're going up against the Chargers. And we got Baker's nursing a bad shoulder.
Yeah, he's got a partially torn labrum in his non-throwing shoulder, which guys can play through, but it definitely probably has been affecting him, as he has not been the same Baker that we saw at times last year.
The other thing about it is the Beckham effect. I don't know quarterbacks whether they feel the pressure because of his talents, but they seem to automatically target Beckham every time he's back on the field, hoping that he can just get one of those explosive, take a slant and go 60 yards or get behind somebody. I don't know. I'm not blaming Beckham for the fact that Cleveland hasn't really played their best game yet, but you got to kind of put blinders on when he's on the field. And yeah, if he's open and a play is supposed to go to him, but don't always look for a way to get him the ball.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers have looked tough. I mean, they beat Kansas City. They took down several really good teams so far this year. And, I've got to be honest, I've been very impressed with their coach and how he's been managing this. I mean, they haven't had an easy schedule. They played Washington, the Dallas Chiefs, Raiders, and they're 3-1. So I think this team is for real. They've got they've got a pass rusher in Joey Bosa, and the rest of that defense seems to kind of play off of the pass rush that they're getting from the front four. So I'm taking the Chargers in this one.
And Herbert is a hell of a quarterback already.
I said all this 2 years ago when I was telling everyone that he should be the first pick in the draft, and everyone was telling me that I was an idiot and that he wasn't even a first round talent. And now he's a Hall of Famer. So
I'm not ready to give him the gold jacket yet, but he's definitely
I'm
ready.
There, but I'm saying that's how people are talking about it.
Oh, I know, but he's a top 10 quarterback right now. If you looked around, you wouldn't find too many people you put in front of him right now.
He can make every throw, and that was what I liked about him coming out, was that he could make every throw. He's got the arm strength. He's got the mobility. He's a really, really smart kid, is what some people don't even realize. And he went through a lot of offensive coordinators in Oregon, and he seemed to be able to thrive no matter who was calling the plays.
And then we got Arizona 4-0 taking on San Francisco, and it's going to be Trey's team because Garoppolo did not practice today. So, all the people who want to see Trey Lance, we're going to see him.
Yeah, good luck. I'm taking the Cardinals in this one because Kyler Murray's had a couple of years to learn what to do and what not to do, and this guy hasn't. So, he's looked good in small bursts, but, now he's got to go out there and stay out there. So you better believe they've been watching tape on what he can do and what he can't do. And the Cardinals seem to be rolling right now.
And here's another big game. This is a huge game. This is a game we probably looked at as the championship game. But right now, playing Buffalo, who right now is playing as good as they've played since probably the Jim Kelly days, both on both sides of the ball, they go into Kansas City. Kansas City's 2-2. This is where you need some of that magic because they go 2-3. They're behind. They're already behind the Chargers with a loss to the Chargers. They got the Raiders ahead of them. It is a big game for Kansas City.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they need this one, and I think they can really make a statement if they were able to come out of this game with a victory over the Bills. But easier said than done. The Bills have scored 40 points 2 out of the last 4 games. And pretty much been unstoppable ever since week 1. So, I'm kind of leaning towards the Bills right now.
Can the Bills defense do to the quarterback Mahomes what Tampa Bay's defense did to him in the Super Bowl?
I don't think so, but I think they can do enough to slow them down and, let their offense win the game for them, because I think the offense is going to have to win the game for them. But I think the Bills are very well coached, and McDermott, he's a defensive coach at his trade, and that's what he made his teeth, gritted his teeth on coming up as a defensive coordinator. And I think what he will do is attempt to take away Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, because those are the two pieces that can get away from you. And if he's able to slow those two guys down, I think the Bills will have a really good day.
I think if you got to pick one or the other, take care of Kelce. I mean, that's the guy who, when the game's on the line, that's the guy who gets that 3rd and 20 catch and keeps the drive going. So I mean,
I agree, but Tyreek Hill's been amazing so far this year. He's got catches for almost 500 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's pretty amazing.
He is, but I don't know if you can take both of them out of it. And that's a long, tall order.
Yeah, no, you got to pick one. I agree. You got to pick one. You got to try and slow down one and try and stop the other. And I don't know. I don't know if they got the personnel to do it, but I think they can outscore them.
And the final game, Week 5, Indianapolis goes into Baltimore. On the outside, looking at this game, you would think this is the Ravens just to take it.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the NFL, usually the team with the better quarterback wins, and they've got the better quarterback and the better defense right now, the way that they're playing. So I'm looking for the Ravens to keep going right now and win this ball game.
All right, we're coming down to our wrap-up time. Let's go with our no doubt picks of the week.
Yeah, I hate to do this to you, but one of mine is going to be for the Cowboys to go ahead and take care of business against the Giants. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of them, and I'm picking them to win and cover. And then the other game was the one we just talked about. I'm picking the Chargers to take care of business. They're a 2-point favorite going into this game, and I expect them to win by 3. So they're going to win and cover as well.
Well, I can't fault you for doing the logical thing with the Cowboys, because I can rack my brain and I still can't come up with a reason to believe that they're going to be able to go down there and turn the tide around. Like 2 weeks in a row to go on the road against a good team and win in the NFL. That is major thing to ask for.
Yeah, it is. And, they pulled it out last week, and that was a big win because you really didn't want to start off, 0-4. So that was a huge win for them. But I just don't know if they're going to be able to match what the Cowboys are doing right now.
All right. Well, let's see. On man coverage this Sunday, 11 o'clock, you and Rico. Rico's back after his bus mishap. Do we have any guests coming in this week, or what do we got?
Yeah, we're going to have a real good show on Sunday. We may have a couple guests join us, but we're definitely going to be breaking down all of the college football action. We've got a big-time game going on with Iowa versus Penn State. We've got the Buckeyes taking on 3-1 Maryland, or 4-1 Maryland, excuse me. Should be a good game. And then also we've got I'm going to be heading to the stadium down the street here and watching Tennessee versus South Carolina in their all black uniform. So should be pretty cool.
Oh, they should keep to the orange. Well, that wraps it up for us tonight. We will be back on Monday night to give you all the action of the NFL weekend. And like I said, 11 o'clock Monday morning, tune in for man coverage. Nate, have a great weekend.
Yeah, it's Sunday morning, but yes.
Sunday morning. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
And we will see you all next week.
All right, strike up the band.